Hey Washington Commanders fans, welcome back to our channel. Today we're bringing you several important news items for the upcoming game, including behind-the-scenes insights into the Commanders, the front office's strategy, and upcoming team changes. To start, our defensive line has always been the heart of our team, with names that command respect throughout the league. But this season, something different is happening. A player who arrived without the same fanfare as others isn't just playing well, he's playing at an elite level that could be the key to our success. And in our next primetime game against the Chicago Bears, he has the perfect matchup to turn the game upside down and show the entire nation why he's our secret weapon. Stick with me, because I'm going to detail exactly how Dorance Armstrong Jr. has become this force and why the Chicago offensive line will have nightmares about him. And of course, we'll bring you the latest information from behind the scenes. So don't forget to leave a like. It's just one click and it helps me a lot. Armstrong's performance in the first 5 games of the season has been nothing short of spectacular. We're talking about an all-pro level performance with numbers that put him among the best in the NFL. 18 quarterback pressures and 5 sacks. But what makes this even more impressive is that he's not getting these numbers in easy situations. Opponents have already identified him as a threat and are constantly sending double-team blocks his way. And even so, he continues to find ways to get to the quarterback and disrupt the offense. What we see on the field is the embodiment of physical dominance. Whether lined up on the edge of the line or moving inside in passing situations, his ability to turn speed into pure power has been too much for opposing offensive linemen. He's consistently winning his one-on-one matchups, bypassing blockers, and forcing quarterbacks to accelerate their decisions. This is the kind of impact that doesn't fully appear in the statistics, but is impossible not to notice when watching the games, as it fundamentally alters the rhythm of the opposing offense. The big difference for Armstrong this season is how complete his game has become. When he was in Dallas, he was mainly seen as a rotational player with high energy and potential for the future. Now, he is a refined technician combining that energy with a sharp technique. His first step isn't the most explosive in the league, but it's his counter moves, such as using his hands to break free from contact and spinning inside, that make him an almost impossible force to contain in a one-on-one matchup. He's no longer just running uncontrollably towards the quarterback. Every move he makes is part of a plan. He plays with discipline, understanding how to manipulate the offensive line's protection to create the best path to his target. This technical growth is exactly what could cause a gigantic problem for the Bears' offensive line, which has shown difficulties in pass protection throughout the season. They don't give up many sacks, but they allow an alarming number of pressures at crucial moments in games. And this is where the golden opportunity presents itself to us. The Chicago Bears will have a new starter at left tackle, the undrafted former free agent Theo Benedette, who will have the mission of protecting Caleb Williams' blind side. For our defensive coordinator, Joe Witt Jr., this is a green light. He can and should create situations to isolate Armstrong, one of the best in the league, against an inexperienced player on one of the most important stages of the week. The Chicago offensive line has already struggled against elite pass rushers this season. Aiden Hutchinson and Max Crosby each had 5 pressures against them. Now, they will face Armstrong, who is playing at the same level, but with the advantage of attacking the weakest and most inexperienced point of that unit. If our coordinator can create this favorable matchup, our defense can dictate the pace of the game from the start, forcing the young opposing quarterback to make mistakes. But Armstrong's impact goes beyond numbers and individual matchups. He has been a true leader by example, embodying the aggression, intensity, and discipline that Coach Dan Quinn is trying to implement throughout our team, especially on the front line. He is the engine that drives our defense, and on Monday night, under the bright lights of prime time, he will have the chance to show the entire NFL the new standard of excellence in Washington. Now, in our last victory, we saw a version of one of our most important players that gave us hope and relief. But the truth is that this same player has been an emotional roller coaster throughout the season, and in our next game, in prime time, he will face a challenge that could define not only the outcome of the game, but also the perception of his future on our team. Stick with me, because we're going to take a deep dive into the enigma that is Marshon Lattimore and why he's one step away from heaven or hell against the Chicago Bears. Last week, against the Los Angeles Chargers, our coaching staff was smart. They changed the way they utilized Marshon Lattimore, drastically reducing the number of times he had to play in man-to-man coverage. The strategy worked perfectly. They protected him, asking him to play more in zone, reading the field in front of him. The result was his best game of the season, allowing only 1 reception for a few yards and being a key part of our victory. It was a sigh of relief for all of us. The problem is that this positive performance was an exception, not the rule this season. Lattimore has been the picture of inconsistency. In one game, he looks like the elite player, the Pro Bowler we know, capable of shutting down the opposing team's best receiver. In the other, he becomes a target, committing crucial penalties in decisive moments or giving up explosive plays that change the course of the game. This unpredictability is a serious problem, and you can be sure that the Chicago Bears offense has already identified it as a point to be exploited. And the brain behind this attack is Ben Johnson, one of the most creative offensive coordinators in the league, who, interestingly enough, was a strong candidate for our head coaching job. He knows our weaknesses. His offensive system is full of pre-snap movements, plays designed to confuse the defense, and, above all, to exploit favorable matchups. He is a master at identifying the weakest link or the most inconsistent player on the opposing defense and attacking him repeatedly. To make matters worse, Johnson has the perfect weapons to execute his plan. He has a pair of receivers in DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. Both are first-round picks, players with speed, strength, and the ability to punish any mistake or lapse in concentration from a cornerback. They will certainly come into the game confident that they can get the better of Lattimore, who has already shown difficulties this season against faster and more agile receivers. The confrontation is set. Ben Johnson will use his movements to try to isolate Moore or Odunze in individual matchups against Lattimore. He's going to test our cornerback's discipline and confidence from the very first play. It will be a trial by fire, a mental and physical battle that will happen on practically every snap. Lattimore's performance in this specific duel may very well be the factor that decides who comes out with the victory on Monday night. And all of this will happen under the bright lights of Monday Night Football. The whole country will be watching. There will be nowhere to hide. This is the time when great players step up and inconsistent players are exposed. The pressure on Lattimore will be immense. He needs to deliver a solid, reliable, and error-free performance. Anything less than that, and Chicago's offense will have no mercy in exploiting his instability. Now, we've survived without two of our main receivers, showing impressive resilience. But what if I told you that the piece that has been keeping our attack afloat, the player who has been our escape valve, is also at risk? A new injury report has just come out, and it has the potential to turn a challenge into a total crisis for our Monday night game. Stay with me, because we need to talk about Debo Samuel's situation and what it means for our team. When it was announced that Terry McLaurin and Noah Brown would be out, we were all worried. However, the team responded admirably, and much of that success is due to the arrival of Debo Samuel. The trade that Adam Peters made for him, sending only a fifth-round pick, already looks like one of the best deals of the season. He has become the focal point of our aerial attack, leading by example and production. But unfortunately, he's been doing it all while dealing with a significant physical issue. It turns out that Samuel is playing with a heel contusion. For a player whose style is based on explosion and physical contact, this is an extremely uncomfortable and difficult type of injury to manage. The coaching staff has been very careful with him during the week, limiting his participation in training to try to keep him as healthy as possible for the games. However, the situation has reached a critical point, and he has been officially listed as questionable for the matchup against the Bears. Coach Dan Quinn was direct, stating that the decision on Samuel's participation will be made moments before the game. The extra day of rest, because we're playing on Monday, may be our great hope, but the reality is that the situation is uncertain. The possibility of taking the field without our three main receivers is real and, frankly, frightening. If that happens, the challenge ahead of us becomes immensely greater. If Samuel can't play, the term crisis would not be an exaggeration. Our attack would have to rely more than ever on the ground game. In the passing game, rookie Luke McCaffrey would be forced to take on the role of number one receiver, a gigantic responsibility for a player in his first year, despite his excellent season so far. Behind him, we would have to count on fellow rookie Jalen Lane and the inconsistent Chris Moore to get the job done, which is a risky bet. This situation would also put even more pressure on other pieces of the attack. Veteran tight end Zach Ertz, who has been a reliable presence since he arrived, would become an even more vital target for our quarterback. In addition, it is almost certain that we would see the promotion of players from the practice squad, such as Ja'Cory Brooks or Robbie Chosen, to simply have enough players to take the field. None of them, with all due respect, comes close to having the impact of Debo Samuel. The truth is, Debo is a unique weapon. His playmaking ability, his versatility, and his physical strength are unmatched. He's also known for being an extremely tough player who plays through pain. The fact that his participation is in doubt tells us that the heel discomfort must be truly significant. For us fans, all that's left is an anxious wait, knowing that our chances of victory diminish considerably without him on the field. Still, we have an ace up our sleeve that no other team has. Jaden Daniels. We know that with him at the helm, we'll always have a chance. But the situation leads me to a direct question for you. Who lives and breathes our team every day? If you were Coach Dan Quinn, what would your decision be? Would you risk putting an injured Debo Samuel on the field, risking further injury, or would you spare him, trusting that the other players can handle the job? Leave your opinion in the comments, and if you believe in the strength of our roster, subscribe to the channel. This leaves us with a final reflection that could impact the rest of our season. The possible absence of Debo Samuel, coupled with those of McLaurin and Brown, exposes a dangerous lack of depth in our receiving core. And is this vulnerability now so evident, the Achilles heel, that our opponents will try to exploit for the rest of the year?